job, like a normal job. And I was just really exhausted and tired of the routine of daily work. And I was tired of having a boss on top of my head. And so belly dance came into my life as a way of an escape. You know, I liked training, and I bumped into like the belly dance class. It was all a coincidence, and then I fell in love with it, and I started dancing, and I thought to myself, this would be a really good opportunity to make extra money. And then when I got into it, I realized, wow, this is like this huge industry, and that's how it was.
That's great. Athena, can you add something? Share your experience?
I wanted to be a dancer from when I was little. I mean, dance has always been a part of my life. I knew somewhere in my teenage years, I was pursuing ballet and modern dance. I knew that it would just be lucky if I could make a living as a dancer. I would just have to be really good and have the right opportunities. And then I fell into the Oriental dance world during my university years and started working probably prematurely before I was ready, before I was, really knew anything well enough. But I learned on the way, and I never dreamed that I would be pursuing dance full time and traveling and doing all of that. But it was bigger than a dream, and it kind of came true in that sense. Along with the tears, the part of the dream, the glitter part, came true. So
Yeah, Masha, can you add something?
For me, I've studied dance since childhood, many different kinds of dance. And when I came across Middle Eastern dance, I love the music, I love the costuming. So in my early 20s, I returned to studying it full time and eventually started performing in restaurants, things like that. So I just, at that point in my life, I wasn't really happy with my day job and decided to start performing in, like I said, in restaurants for pay, and left the day job. It just seemed like the only thing that was right at that moment in my life. Everything else wasn't working out. And so I decided to pursue dancing, as well as because my mother is an artist and she's always been very supportive of me being a dancer. So she really pushed me to do that as work, like because she saw that I enjoyed it. I don't think if she wasn't so supportive of my decision to work as a dancer, I don't think I would have gone as far as I did. Also because she's a costume designer and she makes pretty much all of my costumes. I'm very lucky to have her support in that way, but also just her encouragement that yes, you can be an artist as your full-time job. You can do this, like, go do it.
Wow, that's so nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. How's your experience been so far working in a foreign country? Can you share your thoughts and feelings about that? How do you feel about the whole experience? Anyone? Athena?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely not what maybe I thought it was. Like, I had heard of people, not specific people, but I had heard of people traveling and dancing and staying in hotels and all of that, and it seemed more glamorous than it is, because all of that can happen, but in most situations it's harder than it sounds. There's more to deal with, and there's good parts to it, and it is like there is a sense of freedom and adventure which is promised with that, but also there's some things to navigate, and it's a bit harder than most people think. I mean, I'm approached often with like, oh, I want to work in Turkey, or I want to work in Greece, or I want to work in the, I want to have a holiday dancing job or something, and can I send my video to an agent? And there's like a misconception that it works that way, and often it really doesn't work that way. There's sort of footwork to be had and a lot of risk to take before you can do anything related to traveling and dancing in foreign countries, and having this sort of adventurous full-time dance experience.
Najla, I know
Yeah.
you've been working in Dubai and currently works in Cairo. Can you share your feelings about your experience?
Yeah, I agree with Athena about like it's like we see dancers like in the beginning. I also used to have belly dance friends, and I used to think, oh wow, you know, I want to live in hotels, and oh yeah, I want to live out of a suitcase, and la 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 la. But dude, it's hard. It's so hard, and it's not fun, and you know, you feel alone, and the hotel rooms are so incredibly lonely. And it's difficult to like live out of a suitcase and pack your bags every month to a new hotel. But I didn't have a lot of that, you know. My experience was different because I already lived in the Emirates. So for me, I already lived in my own apartment, so it wasn't as hard. But when I did have to go to, let's say, Abu Dhabi or Ras Al Khaimah, I felt it. It was like, oh. And Cairo is oh my God, you know. I thought Cairo, yeah, I thought it would be like Dubai, you know, you come, you get your contract or you work, and, you know, you find a place, but it's not like that at all. This place is completely different, and I'm still adjusting. I don't think I can ever adjust. Yeah, it's really difficult, you know, because if you're used to a certain way of doing business, a certain way of living, and coming here, it's the complete opposite. You know, there is no one way to do anything here. And as a foreigner here, you know, you don't have it's not easy for you to find your own jobs. It's not easy for you to work anywhere you want to work. So it's very restricted. And so it's incredibly challenging. And lifestyle for me, it's whoa. And I'm half Arab, and I still like, oh my God, you know, yeah.
Masha, how does it feel to work far away from your friends and family in a foreign country?
Well, I'm kind of a person, I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. So I'm used to being alone often, even though I have friends that I visit occasionally. So I'm used to that, but I found it really challenging. So far, I've worked in 2 different countries, Turkey and Morocco. I found it very challenging the first few months. I felt pretty isolated. When I had these opportunities to work, they were like dreams I had always wanted to pursue, you know, working in these countries. When I finally got those opportunities, I also realized that I was a little depressed at the same time. So I was really happy and kind of sad, like experiencing 2 extreme opposites at the same time. I guess because of the isolation I was experiencing, like I didn't have a lot of contacts. I just went there for work and pursued whatever kind of job I was interested in. So anyways, it's a little complex. I'm really happy for the opportunities, the experiences I've had, especially just to be able to travel, you know, as a dancer. It's really enriching to your perspective on life and to understand other people's points of view that you might not experience in one country all your life, you know? So
Yeah.
overall, it's a good experience, but it's definitely challenging. You have to be prepared for the unexpected at all times.
Would you mind if I ask you about friends? How is it easy to make new friends? I mean, in dance community, is it easy or no?
It really depends. I have found that foreign dancers were a little more open to becoming friends, maybe because there was no language barrier. For example, if we both spoke English, there was no language barrier. But I've also like found that if I went to a particular foreign country, that the dancers from that culture were a little less open because I think they saw me as competition, competing for their job. But it could have been a language barrier as well. So.
Najla, can you share your thoughts about that? Is it easy to make friends in dance community? I mean,
Yeah, I'm also an introvert, and I don't have time really to, I know that sounds like, well, but really, there's not enough time to make friends, even outside the circle of belly dancers. I find that here, I mean, they're pretty open to be friends. Like I'm close to Shahrazad. I'm close to a girl called Dana. I've never had a problem, but my personality, it's pretty like chilled, you know? So I kind of get along with everyone, but it's just the time. There's not enough time, and everyone in the belly dance scene is really busy. So, but in Dubai was really tough because really there you have absolutely no time. But I found that people were pretty, you know, they were pretty cool. Yeah. I don't have friends in general. Like I don't know. I'm a real introvert. I'm really friendly.
Athena, can you share your experience?
Well, when I did the short contracts in various places, Najla touched on the loneliness that you can feel in a hotel room. In the few contracts that I did, short-term ones, I mean, the first thing I did was seek out, you know, who was working in the hotel down the street type of thing, like, because usually if we had the same agent, it would be a good opportunity for me to like meet another dancer. And so those were the only friendships. And like Najla said, also, there was no time to make friendships. If you have like a 1 month or 2 month contract, you know, you make a friend and then you have to go. And in those short contracts, I hardly ever made any local friends. It was either like a friendship with the female singer, you know, because it was like a backstage passing by type of thing, and like, oh, let's go to the mall during the day. But yeah, it was this is something that maybe to touch on, is that, you know, this traveling around for contracts, or you know, this image that I think at least dancers in our generation we had, it's changed a bit in the Gulf, I think. But you know, like, it's kind of work. You know, I mean, you go there for work. You don't go there to, you know, sightsee. And maybe after the contract, if you most of the money you make, you want to keep it and go to your next place, or you don't have time to really see where you're living. You go to the mall and then you come back and you have to be ready for work. And in some contracts, there's limitations as where you can go and when. There's all kinds of things to sort of deal with that people don't know about, that each contract is different. And then when we all three of us have kind of settled somewhere. So I've settled in Istanbul, and there you make friends. For me, I made friends like outside of dance for the most part. Like I have my dance friends and then like social friends outside of dance, because mixing the two can sometimes become, you know, too much. If you're close friends with the people you work with, it's like you're seeing them every day. And so it's nice to have a balance of like non-dancer friends or non-work friends, so that you can, if you are a person who opens up a lot, you know, that this doesn't overlap with any kind of misunderstandings in work, or any gossip, or especially any relationships through work. It's, you know, it's kind of smart to keep things separated a little bit.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit positive things. What do you find to be the most exciting or interesting about your career?
What is more interesting about my career?
Exciting, yeah. The most.
I find everything interesting, every single thing. I love everything about it, and there's not a moment of non-excitement. I love, you know, it's exciting because I've never believed, or I never knew that there was a future in dance, especially in belly dance, because like for us, you know, like the Arabic side of me, it's not like, wow, my daughter's going to be a belly dancer. Wow, it's a great future. No, it's like, oh my God, you know. But I see this huge industry, and there's so many great opportunities, not just like in the performing, but like in teaching, and it's incredibly exciting. And I think there's a really long future if you know how to balance between performing and learning to teach. So that's really exciting.
Masha, can you add something? What is the most exciting?
I would definitely say traveling is the most exciting, leaving whatever country you grew up in and experiencing the culture, the food, the music, the mindset of another culture. It really makes you grow as a person. And either you're open to seeing things from, another perspective, or you decide that, your perspective is the only way you want to live. So it's just really just exploring. That's the best part of this job, exploring the world.
That's amazing. Dina?
Yeah, bouncing off what Masha says about adapting, because when you travel and when you are put in different situations, you find yourself, not put in, but you find yourself in different situations, different venues, different audiences, different opportunities present themselves. You adapt and you learn more about yourself in that way. Like you can surprise yourself. I think that's been the most rewarding of everything in my years dancing. It's like I'm constantly surprising myself with change, because sometimes I feel like, oh, I've been doing this a while, and the whole point of being an artist and being a performer is to change and evolve. And I just bouncing off what Masha says about traveling, you can do that also on stage when you're given the opportunity to perform and perform and perform. Like you can't help but evolve, actually. So that's the best, most exciting thing, I think.
Do you find your own gigs, or do you collaborate with the manager, and how it is easy, or how does it work actually in general? Let's talk about Egypt. Let's start with Egypt.
Okay, so do you find your own gigs? Well, it here, the system is made for you to work with a manager. Yeah. It's different from the Emirates. Like in the Emirates, I worked most of the time on my own. And then when I wanted to work with, like, there's this guy called Toros. I wanted to work with him because he had control over all of the really nice places, which I wanted to work at. So I couldn't go into those places without Toros. But here, you need a manager, because the system is not made for foreign dancers to just like find work and work. So most of my work comes from my Instagram account. So yes, I get all the work with all the work that I do on Instagram, but I'm not the one that contacts the clients, or the clients don't contact me. He's the point of contact. He finalizes all the deals in weddings, events, and clubs. So yes, I find my own work because it comes to my Instagram account, but no, I don't get my work because it's a bit complicated here. So he does all the work for me.
Yeah, sounds great. So ladies, I know both of you work in Turkey. So how's it there, both of there? Can you find your own gigs, or no, it's impossible?
Well, Athena's in Turkey. I'll let her go first.
Turkey is an ever-changing place. So the majority of foreigners who have worked in Turkey and do work in Turkey, or not now because of Corona, whatever, but are working in resort towns, resort areas, and it's in the south part of Turkey. In Istanbul, there are foreign dancers, and it's a complicated thing because it's very difficult to work legally in Turkey as a foreign dancer. Almost impossible. I won't say impossible, but almost impossible. It costs a lot to hire a foreign dancer, so most venues don't offer legal work. So without outing anybody, it's difficult to work legally in Turkey unless you have a manager. And as I said, things are changing all the time. So it used to be easier. It's now we're in a holding pattern. So it's but it's like there's no direct way. Like this is something I want to highlight, is that I've been approached many times by well-meaning, excited, inspired dancers saying, where can I send my video to work in Turkey or to work in Greece or to work in the Gulf? Like, where can I send my video? And I want to highlight for anybody who's new to this conversation is that it really doesn't work that way. Like you have to do a lot of footwork and take a lot of risk, and basically just put all your cards on the table and hope that, you know, things will happen. We have kismet here, which is just, you know, things happening in a lucky kind of way. So yeah, there's a lot of risk involved.
But still opportunity to find your own gigs, right? Or basically impossible at all.
Yeah, if you're willing to, in Turkey and in Greece also, if you're willing to like live there and wait around and risk your, you know, risk getting something, not getting something, making connections, not making connections. There's no, you know, place to go to say, hey, I'm available, put me in your catalog, or something like that, you know. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
I think it's very similar to here as well, you know. It's very similar to here, it sounds.
Yeah. How's it in Morocco, Masha?
Well, in Morocco, well, first I want to touch on the topic of if I've worked with a manager. I never worked with a manager in the sense that Najla mentioned, like someone who booked me for private events, weddings, different events, or a contract for 1 month here, a contract for another month there. I never had a manager in that sense, but my first time in Turkey was working for a season in southern Turkey, in Alanya, which is a coastal touristic city on the Mediterranean, southern Turkey. And I did have a manager that hired me for this work. But he managed many artists. So he managed Georgian dancers, he managed circus performers, he managed like a juggler, just entertainers that performed at the different hotels for the tourists. So they had like family-friendly entertainment for everyone. So he was my manager there, and we had some issues. So after that season, I didn't return to work with him. And then when I went to Istanbul, I didn't have a manager there. I just sought out my own opportunities. And again, with what Athena said, it was nearly impossible to work legally in Istanbul. So everything was kind of just silently done. I didn't really talk about where I was, what I was doing while I was in Istanbul. In Morocco, I did have a work visa. I didn't have an official manager, but I had a contract with 2 venues. So there was a business that owned a couple of restaurants, and they hired me for 1 season after another. It went on for like 2.5 years, and I was actually there when the pandemic started. So that was cut short, the final season. But I didn't have a manager there. There was an artistic director at the venue who kind of directed all the other artists involved in performing at one of the venues. But it was just a contract where I worked at the 2 venues exclusively. So it was just like a repeat schedule every day.
Do you feel did you feel a lot of stress or pressure, like working under the manager, like working with, collaborating with the manager?
In Morocco specifically, or
Yeah, in Morocco.
well, like I said, in Morocco, I didn't really have a manager. I only had a manager the first time I went to Turkey. But it's never been a manager in the sense that they would get me as many bookings as possible. You know, it was always just, they had the first Turkish manager. He just had this like schedule of hotels that he would bring his artists to perform at for the tourist programs. So in Morocco, I had an artistic director, but she never directed my show. I just did my own thing.
Oh, so
Yeah. She had a group of dancers that did a commercial dance act. So they did a whole range of different styles, and she was the choreographer for that group of dancers. But they were not trained in Oriental dance. Like I was specifically the Oriental dance artist, and they did a multi-genre show for the dinner show at one venue. So I didn't really feel pressured by her to do any particular format for my dance, but I've always had pressure from DJs about my music. They always have something to say about the music. And
Yeah.
also the owners of the second venue, they had, in Morocco, people have kind of a specific, like their dialect of Arabic is not the same as in Egypt. So for example, if I play an Egyptian song, they won't always even like feel that connected to it. It depends on the song, how popular it is. So the owner of the second venue I danced at was always very picky about the music I chose. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Does it mean you dance to the same song over and over every single show?
Yeah, there were 3 specific songs that the owner of the restaurant really liked, and he said that all the audience members really liked it as well. So I was dancing to those 3 specific songs on the weekends, on the busier nights of the week, for over a year. Driving me crazy.
Najla, does your manager like controls to what songs are you like you dance?
No, no, no. My manager is like a business manager, you know. He is the face of Najla. He is me. He represents me, and we're like a company. It's a very serious business here, you know, being a belly dancer. It's a serious business. Like in the Emirates, being a belly dancer, you're an artist. That's it. And you have a lot of freedoms to contact people. People contact you. You go to your gigs on your own. Easy. But here, no. Here, you know, if you want to evolve as an artist, because there's so many more opportunities than just dancing here, as we all know. And of course, that's the only reason why I would leave the Emirates to come here. I want to expand. I want to grow. And I want a lot of recognition, because recognition equals more money. At the end of the day, you know, we're all seeking to evolve, and we are all seeking to improve our lives and to earn more, and to, you know, that's what it is. So he is in charge of my business. He speaks to clients. He speaks to if I have any problems, because it's not like in Turkey as well. It's very difficult, from understanding from the ladies. It's very, very difficult for foreign dancers to work here. Even if you have work papers here, you're only allowed to work in one venue, the venue that you have papers to work at. So my manager, he is in control of that. He makes sure that I will not get hurt by anyone. If I'm at a wedding in a place that I don't have a permit, he makes sure that I get specific permits, or he arranges everything for me to be there. So he's my company. But he doesn't interfere in my costumes, in my music. No, not at all.
Great. This is great, because I've heard totally different stories about the collaboration between a manager and a dancer. I don't know if you know some stories, probably you can share with us. No, you've never heard of it?
You know, Tatiana, look, my manager is he is a professional person. He is someone that I trust.
You're lucky.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I was given my manager to me by the person that I worked with, and the person that I worked with, he's an incredible human being. Just such a wonderful person. He's opened up so many doors for me, but of course he believed in me. And so he made sure to give me the person that would represent me in a very good way, that will not hurt me. And I'm very lucky. Yes, I've heard many strange stories. Very strange. Thank God I'm not one of these girls.
Bravo. Yeah, that you're lucky. I said that. Athena, have you ever felt this pressure, or maybe you had some troubles with the manager or something?
In my experience, in Turkey at least, similar to what Najla said, like I tend to be limited to one place. I'm not running around, gigging around. As a foreigner, it's very difficult and risky to do so. So the manager who I sort of work for is the manager general of the place. So the only feedback that I'm given usually, I mean, in the couple of places that I've been more stable, is, you know, usually a little bit of commentary if I change my music, you know, but really the show is up to me. So I think in my experience, the customers are happy, the agencies are, because it's usually in a touristic venue, so agencies are happy, then the manager's happy. He won't say anything, he won't. But if I change my music and something is a little bit like different or something, there may be a comment, but no real like force to do anything or change anything. In my very short and few golf contracts, it was nice to have. I worked very briefly for Toros, who Najla mentioned, and it was kind of nice to have in the back of my mind that I had this reputable person that I was being sent by. Like, even though I was a really fresh, green, young, like I really didn't know. I mean, I was a little bit far along in my dance career, but as a contract dancer, I really didn't have any experience at all when I went on these contracts. And I was a fresh new face, very different than the typical look at that time, and different from what the agency was sending to Dubai and Abu Dhabi at that time. So in the back of my mind, I had maybe a false confidence that I worked for Toros, so he would fix everything if something happened. But yeah, I mean, every contract that I was on, there were little snafus here and there, and usually it was like, oh, can you help me? And he'd be like, just deal with it, it'll be fine. It was always fine in the end. I mean, I so the role of the manager in that sense, in an agent, let's say an agent or a manager who's not in the country with you, who's not in the venue with you, you do have to sort of deal with things on your own and deal with it the best way you can, and get out of there with your money. That's like the bottom line, like get your money and go.
I see. So Najla, take us through, what is a typical work week look like for you?
About what you asked previously about the music and if the managers interfere and so on, like here, we're all following the trend. So if you're following the trend, no one's going to complain. All right. So a work week, wallahi, shufi, Tatiana, I have to tell you, I worked in two different ways here. When I first arrived, I worked with a boat, the VIP Autar Rye Club. Yeah, so I worked with them. And that was intense, but thank God I have a very good history of working like a donkey in the Emirates. Yeah, like, whew. But when I came here, it was like 4 times more the work. So there was just, I get home sometimes at like 7 or 8 a.m. and I try to get to bed, and I can never get to bed before like midday. And then I always woke up really early. I try to stay in bed. There's no way in hell, so I get up. So I was always exhausted. There was no time to go to the gym. There was just like a little bit of time to eat and sleep. So that was pretty intense.
Gym at this time? Not sure. You worked hard. Did you need the gym at this time? Not sure. I mean, you dance so much. If you dance so much, did you really?
Oh, yeah, no, but you need it because I was so skinny, anything you eat just, it was really intense, but I have to say it was really interesting and it's rewarding, and about like the money in Dubai, like I worked, of course, less. I made the same amount that I was making on this boat, but because I worked so much, I didn't find it was a big difference in the money. So it was all good. Later on, I left because I had a disagreement with them, and I came back with some different people, and I was just working once a week in this club. And so I had plenty of time, and that was awesome because I was getting paid really well. And if I had like a wedding here or there, it was working out, or a different club. So it was all good. So I had a lot of time to go to the gym and just like chill by the pool. It was really nice. So it was pretty chilled. Does that answer your question?
So Athena, how's your work week looks like?
So now this past, like, I feel like it's been about a year that it's been very up and down with Corona and the pandemic and everything. And I have changed a lot. I've been dancing pretty much nonstop for over a decade. So this Corona period has been really interesting to me because I've started to like have a more like normal, what I guess most people say is normal. I always thought my routine was normal, but I always knew, like, oh yeah, I shouldn't eat at night, for example. Like in a normal work week, I'm getting home, past midnight and eating because I don't eat before the show because I don't want to feel like heavy or fat or something. So so I'll eat at night, and I always have in the back of my mind like, oh, I shouldn't really eat at night. And then and of course in the golf contracts that whole thing is pushed even hours later, so you don't even get on stage sometimes until 2-3 o'clock in the morning. So and then after you dance, you kind of, I don't know, for me, I would have to like wind down with some food or fruit, or they would bring something and I would eat it. So eating late at night is something that I've changed in the past year that actually makes me feel a lot healthier that now that I don't eat at night. But yeah, waking up later than typical, regular 9 to 5 job, for example, you'd wake up in the morning. A full-time dancer, unless they have a regimen like going to the gym or something, sometimes you wake up 11, 12, 1, half your day is gone because your peak time has to be on the stage. You have to have that peak. So yeah, my typical work schedule is waking up kind of late, 11, 12. If I go to the gym or if I go shopping or if I, food shopping or something for the house, and then getting to work, depending which country I'm in and what I'm doing. In Turkey, it's usually around 8, and then dinner show. So putting on the makeup and getting in costume, and that can happen every day if you're, lucky to have a stable job and a popular place that's open every day. It could be every day. It could be 6 days a week, 5 days a week. Or if you're working freelance, it's, get up and go, bring your bag. So that's the other thing with freelance dancers in Turkey. They're constantly with a bag going everywhere. Whereas if you have a stable place, it's a little bit more free. You can be somewhere and then be like, oh, got to go to work every day at the same exact time every day. Routine. And then for me, like I said, going home and not, and you, when you have your peak at a night schedule, like if you're a not performer, you may have your peak in the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
We have our peaks late at night. You don't just like, oh, now I'm home, I can lie down. Most people have to wind down and it takes some time. Like adrenaline is so high after performance energy. So something to keep in mind, like a flip-flop of schedule. And now this year with Corona, I'm experiencing the opposite, which is the typical, let's say, like waking up and doing some active stuff, outdoors or whatever, safe, masked.
Masha, how about you?
Okay. When I first arrived in Turkey, when I worked with a manager performing at hotels, we would get picked up as a group with the artists that I lived with, the other dancers. And we would get taken from one hotel to do our stage show to the next hotel to the next. So we would have multiple shows a night, and then the driver for the company would drive us back home. So that was my first experience. In Istanbul, when work was steady, I danced 7 nights a week, but sometimes they would call and say, oh, it's slow tonight, there's no show. So when I lived in Istanbul, I arrived around the end of 2015, and that's when there was a lot of unrest in the country of Turkey due to terrorism. So that was not the best time to pursue any kind of work there. But so there was a period when I had no work, and then there was a period when things got better and I was working 7 nights a week. And then in Morocco, my schedule was 6 nights a week. I danced, like I said, for 2 venues that were owned by the same business. So I would do my first venue starting the first show around 9 p.m. It was for more of a touristic audience. It was in a traditional Moroccan style riad, which is like a courtyard, traditional home in Morocco, a very large building with an open courtyard in the middle. It's a really beautiful venue. So I did more of a classical Arabic belly dance show there. And I would, depending on how busy it was at that restaurant, I would do between 1 and 3, sometimes 4, depending on how busy it was, 4 shows based on the reservation times of the guests. And then I would always finish the night at the second venue. My show would be right before midnight. I would do 1 show there on stage. And I was asked, like, I would start my show on stage. I would dance around through the different rooms, the dining rooms of that restaurant, because not everyone can see the stage as well, depending on where they were seated. So I would just dance by so they could take a photo or a quick, like, you know, little video of the dancer. And then I would return to the stage to finish my show. And I would be home by around 1 a.m. at the latest, usually. So between 9 p.m. to 1 a.m.
That's good. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So probably all of us heard like being a full-time dancer in a foreign country is a dream. A lot of money, you become very famous, but in reality, do the salary and live this type of lifestyle met your expectations? What do you feel about that? Did your salary and lifestyle meet your expectations?
I can go first on that topic. I never pursued dancing in a foreign country for the money. I pursued it for the experience, and I never really had a lot of connections in terms of like managers or people who worked in that specific field of entertainment. So like I said, I didn't really go after making a lot of money. It was more about experience, personal experiences for me. So I never made a lot of money. And it's also because I never really, more recently, I kind of, instead of promoting myself like most dancers do on social media to get more attention, I kind of actively downsize my following for a particular reason. So if my advice is that if you're going to pursue, someone wants to pursue dancing abroad, don't do it for the money, do it for the experience. But of course, have a standard that you want to meet in terms of your income. Yeah.
How about you, Athena? What do you think?
I wanted to bounce off what you said about being a dream and maybe money and fame.
Mhm.
When I first moved to Greece, I had belly dance background in New York. That's where I grew up as a dancer in New York City, and I didn't go to Greece to work. Actually, my background, my family background is Greek, so I went there to just sort of stay and see what I could do. And I was surprised during that time. I guess it was around 2005 or something. That was a really high, it was before the economic crisis, and it was a really great time to try to be a belly dancer in Europe in general. So in Greece it was really popular, and I did make a lot of money those first years. But something that a friend acquaintance had told me early on, because I was like, you know, I don't know where, if I had an idea of being famous, I don't know, not that I wanted to be famous, but just like the thought of it. He said it's really easy to be famous, but it's really hard to be respected. And this like stuck with me, and it rang true then, and it rings kind of true now, because of the way media portrays celebrity in general, and then you kind of add in cultural stigma of dancers in this region. It is really easy to be famous. Like you can do something and be famous, and you know that you're famous for something.
Mhm.
But it's really hard to be respected and to be widely respected by the common person. So in Turkey right now, you know, it's belly dance is very much under the radar. It's not being promoted in public media. There's memories of a time that, you know, Nesrin Topkapı and Athena and Didem were on TV, and the general public knew them. But overall, there's not this. There's, you know, like to weigh your. Do you want to be famous really? Because if you want to be famous, there's a lot of you know, ways to be famous, through scandal or through gossip or through something, you know. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation about fame. About money, I agree with Masha. Like, there are days that you can make a lot of money. There are days you don't make a lot of money. There are days that you're canceled. There are days that, so it is, as a career, an extremely unstable career to be an artist, to be a performer. You never know what's going to happen from day to day, from stage to stage. So if it's about making tons of money, you could make tons of money today and not have a job for 3 months, flip the page, and then you don't have something. So the stability is not there. So do it for something other than money, and the money will come if it's meant to come.
Najla, what do you think? Very famous dancer, Najla.
Well,
Already have it.
thank you. I work hard. Shufi, I think from my experience, my personal experience, I was making pretty good money in the Emirates, but look, I was making pretty good money because I was there for a really long time, and I had my own, I had my residence visa, so I didn't need anyone to get me a residence visa. I had my own apartment. So what happens is that when you're there for a long time, you make a lot of connections, you can work in many different places. And I remember the girls that were working at the time with Toros that didn't have residency visas. They would do their contract, and if they didn't have a contract, they'd either stay in their friend's house or they'd have to go back home. So they weren't really benefiting from it. So I benefited a lot because I was able to work in many places. I could do 2 contracts and 1 contract with Toros. So it adds up, and I was very, very smart in always living below my means. So if it weren't for my time in the Emirates now in the pandemic, I would be, I don't know what would have happened to me. So thank God, it helped, working in the Emirates, and thank God I was able to do something with it. And if I was still in the Emirates, probably I would still be in a better shape. Coming here, I was faced with the realities that, it's very unpredictable. It's almost by chance, your work here. Yes, we do a lot of work. We promote ourselves like hell, but there is, I don't know, it feels like it's chance, because even the very, very famous people also, they're not working as much as we believe that they are. I'm married to an Egyptian man, so I live here with my husband. Probably if I would have left a lot earlier, because yes, there's a lot more money to be made in the Emirates. But yeah, it's not a steady job, so you can't rely on this, it's going to keep coming and coming. No, it could go, like you said, Athena, you could stay home for 6 months, and it did happen to me. I couldn't find work for 6 months, and this was before the pandemic, and I almost died. So you got to learn how to work. Remember that it's not going to stay happening forever, perhaps. And you're going to have good and bad days, and you got to prepare for the bad days. And if you can learn that lesson quickly, and you know how to use your money, I think you'll do well.
Okay. Thank you for your advice. How do you feel when you perform? Have you ever experienced criticism from people attending your shows? Najla?
No, honestly, no. I've never had a problem with the audience. I've never, ever had a problem with, you hear these, oh my God, they must be drunk and you're a belly dancer and you're wearing this and blah, blah, blah. Never, ever, not from a man, not from a woman. I've always had a lot of respect and a lot of care from people, here or there. And there the people are different. They're not here. People are very warm, and the people I perform, let's say if I perform in a club, they're young people and they're all happy and excited. And if I'm in a wedding, they specifically ask for you, so they want you and they're happy. In the Emirates, people are a bit different because they're more reserved, and but still, I've never had a problem ever, really.
That's,
Alhamdulillah.
that's great. Athena, have you ever had any problem with audience?
To say I've never had a problem, I would be lying. It depends really on the venue, because in Greece, for example, before the economic crisis, I mentioned there was like a really great time that I was dancing what felt like everywhere. I was dancing in restaurants for dinner, and then I was dancing in bouzoukia, which was like live music, like nightclub, but like live music. Like imagine like a concert, but like with tables and drinking, and then and after that going to a club, like nightclub, with a stage, but then also like mingling with people. So it really depended on the venue. In dinner type situations, I almost never have any problems, because there's usually a dance floor in both Greece and in Turkey. There's usually a small place for a dance show, let's say, and then you interact with the guest. And that's really one of the things that as a performer, you learn how to interact. It's a skill and an art of itself, like how to interact, how to communicate without making people feel uncomfortable and without putting yourself in any kind of, especially if you're in close proximity before Corona, how to be welcoming and not make anybody uncomfortable. That can be men or women, and not to invite any kind of, it's all in the person's personality and performance energy, let's say. And then like in club atmosphere and in live music kind of nightclub atmosphere, of course there's alcohol involved in those settings. So to say that I've never had any kind of person who wasn't fully aware of what they were doing, but in most of those situations, both in Greece and in the few in Turkey that I've been in a nightclub situation, I had like a bodyguard or like security nearby. So those things are almost pre-thought of, like, let's keep the dancer and not, there's no misunderstanding and all of that. So in Turkey in general, for me, I've been in in the places that I've worked, they've been dinner touristic venues with a stage, and it's more family friendly. So it's related to that restaurant vibe. So yeah, it's been good.
Thank you. How's the audience in Morocco?
The audience in Morocco is very, very good, very welcoming. People were very nice in Morocco. On occasion, every dancer experiences this where maybe there's a couple on a date and the woman completely ignores your show because she's insecure or something, or vice versa. The man might completely ignore your show because he's uncomfortable with his partner getting, jealous or something. So everyone experiences that on occasion, but overall, the audience, they love dance in Morocco. So it was a good experience. You asked how do I feel when I'm performing? I love dancing. I love to dance, and the challenging part of it sometimes is when we have to be, as performers, happy all the time, pretty much on stage. Like that's our job, is to make people feel good, to share positive energy with the audience. So on occasion, it can be challenging if on occasion you're not feeling happy that day. You still have to force yourself to really project a different feeling. So that's challenging. But overall, I'm a happy person in life, and it's not challenging to share that with people. There have been, like Athena said, very rare occasions I can remember 2 times where people, maybe because they were drinking alcohol and because I was not on stage, I was in an like interactive moment with the audience where they were rude and said something rude, but I just deal with it by not affirming what they said, and I just walk away instead of reacting in a dramatic, angry way. I just walk away from it, and maybe I tell security or whatever that they need to keep that person away from me. So it does happen on occasion, but for the most part, it's not like that. People are great. They appreciate what you're doing, and it's a good experience overall.
Thank you. Thank you. So for all of you ladies, if you could change one thing about your career, what would it be?
I'll start. I wish I had gone abroad to work in foreign countries sooner in my life, like a decade sooner. Yeah.
Najla, what do you think? If one thing you could change.
I wish I started dancing a lot earlier and came to this part to Cairo a long time ago, because this is not the time that I wanted to be here. I didn't expect it to be like this. Yeah, I think everyone's got this fantasy about like Egypt and the big band, and you know, everyone there, yeah, put a Kalsoum on. It's like, what? Put Naya on, and you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
people dancing on bars. But it, you know, I also, I think if I did start a lot earlier, I think I would have perhaps been disappointed, because, you know, as the more mature you are, you have more knowledge and experience with life, and, you know, you take things as like, okay, this is, I can deal with this. But also, I think there's a lot of, you know, if you're too young, I think you could probably do some things that you might regret, probably, because you don't have experience. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Athena, what about you?
That's it.
I agree with with everyone that, especially with my brief contracts with Toros, I felt maybe if I had gotten into that earlier, because I was already in my 30s, like mid 30s or something. I think I could have had a better chance, let's say, and also things like I said in the Gulf, but also in Turkey, like things change in this field like really quickly. The norms and how you work and how you do. So I think there was a time that would have been maybe better for me, like more, I would have had a better chance to maybe have a longer career in that and have more experience or something like that. But I don't regret any of that part of my, I'm glad I had the experience that I did. And yeah, I mean, I love the I think Najla said a better word, unpredictability of this feel of this, like this world that we are working in. I love the unpredictability and the surprises right around the corner and everything, but I do really wish that there was a more stable clarity in especially in being a foreigner. And but this is not just you know, being a foreigner working in any country, in any field, doing anything, has its rules and its loopholes and its bureaucracy and its you know, shady areas and everything. So I mean, the only thing I would change is like to make everything a little bit more clear and legal. to just, you know, to just feel like, yes, okay, this is what I, but even for a person who is determined to be legal and clear and everything, it's very difficult. Like they make it nearly impossible. I say nearly because it is possible, but it's like so difficult.
Okay.
Yeah, and it keeps changing also. So that's the thing. Once you think you've got it, and oh, I'll just do this, and then it like changes. You're like, okay, you know.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what does a dancer need in general to be successful and pursue dance as a career? Just list three important things in your opinion. What do I need to be successful? Yeah.
You need to be incredibly smart, a very, very, very clever woman. We're talking about women right now. You need to be very intelligent. And what I mean is you need to,
Mature. Like,
is the internet connection okay?
yeah, great.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you need to be smart because you're going to be surrounded by wolves. You know, that's how I see it. And you need to know how to deal with them in a way that you can still deal with them, but you don't affect yourself in any negative way. And because this industry is, we are the dancers, we are women, and they are the men. They have the business. And of course, with that comes a lot of confusion because they believe that, oh, for her to dance, she'll do anything. So you need to know how to be smart to make them understand in a very nice way that you don't offend them and they still want to work with you. That, no, I'm not like that. I'm very professional, but always keep them as a peer. So that's what you need to be smart with, and especially because like I work with Arab people, so I know how to deal with them and I know that's their mentality. Yeah. And it's really difficult to get one step ahead without playing these games. There are many, many games and we need to know how to play the games. Of course, everyone's got a different mentality. Everyone's got different, like what I would do, someone else wouldn't do, or what she would do, I wouldn't do, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why you need to be smart. That's one. I think you need to look at this, for me at least, and for the places that I worked at and for my target, I look at this as a business. Yes, I'm an artist, but I'm a businesswoman in my mind. Okay, that sounds weird, but you know what I mean. I look at it as a business. I don't look at it as like, la, 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 la. It's not, you are not playing here with like toys and little kids. No, you're playing with serious people, with an industry that is enormous, with an industry that makes a lot of money, and they're going to use you to get money. So you need to know how to deal with the business. And the third one, I think you need to know what it is that you accept doing and you don't accept doing beforehand. Like I said, I think I'm happy that I started this. I think I'm happy with a more mature mind, because I already had an established idea of what I could do and not do. And that helped me a lot in my journey. And that's it, really. There's many more, but those are three.
Thank you so much. Tina, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind was professionalism, but I think Najla put it much, much better, because it is a game. Like, I had a acquaintance at some point be like, I am professional, but there's a bit of like putting someone up there. There's a lot of ego involved, especially in this career that has, in entertainment industry, that has a lot of men, and the women are we are the product which is being sold in a lot of ways, or the image that's being sold, and then the men are the managers, and it was a total game changer for me when the venue manager that I've been working with recently is a woman. Total game changer. I mean, I don't have to play so much the way that it wasn't like an intentional playing, but it was a lot of that. Like, have your boundaries, but also make them feel like that you're, like that you're nice, and you're not putting them off. Exactly what Najla said. Like that, like, so it's not just professional. I am professional, because if you're just professional, like you're in an office or something, that's not going to work in this industry. You have to always manage yourself somehow in situations. So the professionalism. The other thing that came to my mind was like a sense of humor, because a lot of things, you do have to sort of now with my maturity, I look back at some things that really got me, oh my God, this is happening at work, and what am I gonna do? And like, it's just, people are people, and most of the time there are people in a night situation that, at the end of the day, especially with this career, you roll in and out of places, like you might work there for 3 years, you might work there for 1 week, and in the end of the day, you knew that person, and they, like, I have a sense of humor about it, so it doesn't get you too involved in like, oh, what he said and what she said, and a lot of work gossip. I guess it happens in any situation, the water cooler talk or whatever they say, but to have a sense of humor about it and take everything lightly, and if it's not working for you, move out of that situation and move on to something else, because I think it depends on a person's personality. Maybe they could think this is the only job, like everything's great here. What if I start, like there's always something else. So if it's not working out, or if something happens, just move on to the next thing and make your decisions wisely. Yeah, with a sense of humor.
Masha, would you like to add something?
Yes, I mean, I would recommend if you want, sorry, I'm looking at the notes. I answered these questions in advance just to be a little prepared. To be successful in a foreign country, I mean, obviously it's going to help you to learn the language. So start sooner than later to learn how to communicate with the locals in their native language. It'll bring you more opportunities for work. Always present yourself in a professional manner. So if someone invites you after work to go have wine or something, say no. Say no. Act professionally. Unless it's a girlfriend or something, that's different. But and respect the local culture. So try to kind of blend in with the local scene in terms of the way you dress, just to avoid unwanted attention. And also the music, I think for each country is slightly different. They're used to different styles of music in each country. Like in Turkey, I don't know, they like faster music. In Morocco, it depends on the venue, but like I said, for the second venue I danced at, the boss was very particular about the music. He didn't want me to dance to any kind of popular shabby music from Egypt because it's not the image he wanted for his venue. So just be clear about where you're dancing, like what do they expect for that venue in terms of music and the audience, what they like. And just persevere, have an attitude of perseverance because you will probably encounter difficult situations. So that's all.
Thank you so much. What disappoints you the most about your career and belly dance world in general?
Not disappoints, but maybe something as a person who was raised in the States, the sort of, I mean, now I feel like there's a lot of information at our fingertips, let's say on internet. But when I started belly dance in the States, there was a very Western approach to it, like, sort of an ignoring the tie to here in Turkey, Greece, the Gulf, North Africa, the tie to nightlife and what that entails. I mean, it's not a huge conversation right now, but I mean, when I was growing up with belly dance, it was like, let's belly dance and let's be feminine and and there's lots of conversations around this, but like, it's disappointing that it's still in many ways presented that way when there should really be an awareness of where this dance belongs and where it has been and where it will be and where it can be in the native countries that where it comes from. And when it's taken west, it's usually like coated with some kind of glaze that's very pretty and it is a beautiful art form and everything, but like not to ignore the stigmas and the cultural connections, like what an average person might think when you say you're a belly dancer. I mean, this is unfortunate. I mean, in Turkey, for example, it's not the first thing, like, hi, my name's Athena, I'm a belly dancer. Like, this is not something you would say, and there's a reason why. Like, so this is something that is disappointing to me, not because it is. I mean, it is, but it's disappointing that it's not, that it needs to be sugar coated somehow in the West. Like, we should learn this right away, that there can be a stigma, or there's an association, the history and the like unpack all of that like earlier on, so we don't get a lot of these dreamy attitudes about, I'm gonna like you, the title of this, like the glitter life thing, like yes, we wear glitter, yes, we wear Swarovski, yes, we are beautiful, yes, we are feminine, but what does that mean to the cultures where we dance? Like, what does that mean, and all that entails? positive and negative, you know, empowering and the opposite of empowering, you know. I don't know if that answers the question.
Najla, would you like to say something?
Yeah, no, I agree with Athena. I didn't even know about this, like, this idea that the West had about belly dancing. Like my whole entire life, I knew belly dancing as like the no art, you know, the women that do this are like, you know. So when I started learning belly dancing, because I learned belly dancing from a Dutch lady, and a friend of mine in class told me, oh, you should check out YouTube. And I'm like, what the hell is YouTube? And I saw YouTube and I saw the foreign dancers and I thought, wow, what is this? It's done like that. It's done in theaters. Oh my God. So I also don't understand. I mean, it disappoints me that the fact that they keep their eyeballs on these parts of the world, not even understanding this part of the world. You know, belly dancing has never been something to, like you said, Athena, you don't be like, hey, what's up? You know, I'm a belly dancer and what, you know, I'm terrified of going out here and someone recognizing me. I am. In Dubai, it's okay. You know, it's a different world over there, but still, you know, it's not like, oh, wow, she's a belly dancer. How nice. So yeah, that does disappoint me that they don't understand anything and they have so much to say.
Masha?
It's interesting, the two opposite points they just brought up. I would say what disappoints me is when I encounter those people who don't see the artistic side of belly dance. They only see it as a woman. They only see the physical. They only see the body, and so they judge the artist's character based on the fact that she chose to be a dancer. Like some people have stereotypes of dancers, and they can't get past it. Like, so it's difficult to deal with, and preferably, like, you want to avoid those people. So, and the only other thing I don't like about belly dance, like working in foreign countries, most of the time you have to dance in smoky venues. Like you have to dance in venues where people are blowing cigarettes practically in your face sometimes. So if you don't like that, then that's going to be a problem.
Okay. And let's briefly finalize. The last question will be, what are some words of advice you would give to your fellow dancer who might consider working in a foreign country as a full-time dancer, belly dancer? What would be the advice? Najla, I see you ready. She's
We're
ready.
all so polite. We're so polite. It's like, no, please, you go first. I think you need to really know what you're getting yourself into. It's very important. Like Masha, I forgot who said it, but you need to know that you're going somewhere and you don't speak most of the girls that I met, like I know some Brazilian girls, most of them actually, they were Brazilians. And they arrived in Dubai, they didn't speak English, they didn't speak Arabic. You know, they get on a plane and they go and they spend a fortune on buying like 15 costumes. They're in debt back home and their family put all this cash together so they can go to this like foreign country, and they get there and they're super young and it's like, you know, these poor girls, you know, what the hell? Like some of these girls are like 20, 19, you know, dude, that's really young to go somewhere without speaking like one sentence of English. So I think they really need to like learn some sort of like English or Arabic or something. And they need to know that this is not a fluffy industry. This is a hardcore industry. This is business. And these girls are not going to be doing what they were doing back in their little studio in Brazil, like, you know, playing with the veil. No, they're going to be working hard and long hours, and they're going to be taken advantage of. So they need to know, and they need to prepare for that. And they need to know that there's going to be a long time before they can start making money and sending money home. They don't think about that. They get on a plane, they spend all this money, and then they get there, and then they're they don't know how to live. And some of them just have to find places, people to stay with. And I think that's really dangerous. So that's my advice. And make sure, especially coming to Cairo, come here several times. Never, ever, 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 ever sign a contract here. Never. Until like you've come here many, many times and you've spoken to many people and then perhaps sign a contract. Because when you sign a contract here, a lot of them are signing Arabic contracts, not knowing what the hell they're signing. They're getting into a lot of trouble.
True. Athena?
I'll bounce off Najla. I guess come visit if you have a scope of one place, Turkey as well, any European, I mean, anywhere you would want to visit many times. And I guess my advice is either it's like one or not either, but something in the middle. Like the one would be, oh, I'm going to keep my day job and I have this is actually like a person who has actually contacted me. I have a day job and I just want to take 2 months and get a contract somewhere in a foreign country and just do like a vacation work thing. This thing is like, not to say it never happens, but like it's so rare to just be able to keep your life as you know it and then try to do a belly dance like getaway job work like there it's a you can't have both things, like have your family life and your 9 to 5 and then do a international belly dance like thing for a summer or something like that. It's an all or nothing thing. Like be prepared to change your whole life and that you won't have necessarily a picture of what that life is going to be like, because you'll probably, and I agree definitely with Najla that you need to visit the place that you have in mind multiple times and don't just jump into the first thing. You have to understand the full scope of where you are and what's already existing there and who is around and so yeah, not to keep it like, oh, I'll just do an international belly dance thing, and not also to put all your eggs in one basket and say, you know, I'm going to take this one trip to Turkey and I'm going to find a job, and if it doesn't happen, forget it. You know, like it's a process, and it's like it takes, like I keep using this word, like footwork. It takes a lot of like perseverance and patience and trust that the right thing is going to happen if it's supposed to happen. This kismet thing, like if it's supposed to happen, you just keep wanting it to, and if it doesn't happen, like take that note and be like, okay, that's not happening, but something else is going to happen for you, you know. Stay positive.
Masha, would you like to add something?
I would agree with what already was mentioned, that in business, people will try to take advantage of you and profit off of your hard work. So be careful of that. You do have to sacrifice to really pursue this career. You have to sacrifice time and relationships in some cases. And there is a look that employers tend to want in their dancers. So you do have to modify your appearance in some cases just by putting on makeup the way they prefer to see the dancer, you know, made up, or hair extensions, things like that. But you don't have to go to extremes, you know, you don't have to agree to everything someone suggests to you. So just see what you're comfortable with and keep it, like, you know, at your own comfort level. And what else? I don't know. I would suggest that if you're going to be in a country for a few years, adopt an animal to keep you company. That's what I did twice. I adopted a cat in Turkey. I adopted a cat in Morocco, and they both came to live with my mom because I was still traveling. So if you find, like, you know, you need companionship, adopting shelter animals is a great idea.
Thank you for your great advices. So let me thank you for giving us the opportunity to know you better, for sharing your experience with us. Once again, thank you to Najla, Athena, Masha for sharing their story, and thank you for tuning in. You can discover the next topic of conversation on my Facebook or Instagram. Oh, here's the cat. So see you next episode. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. That was very nice and beautiful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tatiana, for
Thank
having
you very much for
Masha
organizing.
and Masha.
Thank you.
Love you
Bye.
guys.
My
Love you
pleasure.
both.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
And nice to meet you, Athena and Masha. All the best to all. My internet is going crazy.
Okay, bye.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Bye.